Hi everyone, this is Jim Kieran with the EQUELLA team with another EBI tutorial. So as we've been running our tutorials, the uploads I've been doing have been for the same items logically, but in actual fact they're duplicating in EQUELLA. Each time I do a run, more items are being added, so we're ending up with duplicates. So for example, we have uniform circular motion interactive here, and we also have it down here, and they're essentially the same item. So if I go ahead and do another import again, so I'll just go ahead and rerun the import from the last tutorial, we've got 3 successes, and if I do a search, now we've got 9 items. So it feels like EBI is making a mistake and just duplicating, but in actual fact EBI doesn't compare items inside EQUELLA and say that these are the same items, therefore I'm going to update them rather than just create new ones. However, we can instruct EBI to do that. And there's 2 ways of doing that. We can either refer our item IDs for our newly created items inside our spreadsheet. So for example, this item here, uniform circular motion, has that UUID. If we include that UUID in our CSV, then EQUELLA can be instructed to match it on the item and update it rather than duplicating it. We're not going to do that in today's tutorial. Instead, we're going to use another technique where we can specify our own identifiers inside the CSV, record them in the item, and instruct the EBI to match on our custom identifiers. So, to do such thing, we first need to add the identifier to the schema of our collection. So I'm going to go to the collection definition editor for the resources collection, and I can see here that we're using a metadata schema called large collection schema. So I'll go to metadata schemas and open the large collection schema editor and have a look inside there. What I need to do is create a metadata field in here that has been indexed for advanced searches. Now I've already done that. I've created an attribute in this case called identifier, and over here you can see I have indeed indexed it for advanced searches. It doesn't have to be an attribute, it can be an element just as easily. So the XPath to it is metadata / @identifier. Now in our CSV I can add a column, and I can add the column anywhere I like inside the CSV, but being an identifier, I might put it right up the front here and put the metadata XPath, metadata / @identifier, and here I just need to make certain I put in a unique value for each row in my CSV. It can be any string as long as it's unique for each row. An obvious one is just to put integers, incremental integers here. So that's going to be my identifiers 1, 2, and 3. But I could have just as easily put in some random strings in here as long as I knew that each one was different. Okay, so I'll go ahead and save that. And over here on the EBI, I've added a column, so I need to reload my CSV, and it recognizes that new column right up the front. And it is metadata. I leave that column data type untouched, but I flag it as a source identifier. So now I'm instructing EBI, when you upload, if you find any items already in EQUELLA that has a metadata / @identifier of the same value as the row you're about to upload, instead of creating a duplicate, add an additional value, update the existing item inside EQUELLA. Now before we can do that, unfortunately, these items that are already in here don't have that attribute, so it can't match on those ones. So those ones we just have to remove from the system. If we write a script or do something to add those attributes into these existing items, then that's another way of handling it. But rather than that, I'm just going to take the easy way out and just remove them from the system. So I'll go ahead and do a bulk delete. And I'll go ahead and purge them as well. Okay, so now our collection is indeed empty, and ready for a fresh new bulk import of those items, but this time with source identifiers. Over here, and we'll get our terminal there as well, and we'll do a test to start with. Okay, so it looked through all three, and this time you'll see in the message item source identifier equals 1, item not found in EQUELLA, item valid for import. So it's certainly trying to match on source identifier now. I'm going to go ahead and do a import, and it's successfully uploaded all three items. Now if we want to be sure, we can look in one of these items and we can check the metadata here and see if we've added that attribute. And there it is, identifier equals 3 for that item. That's great. I'm also displaying it out here on my item display page as part of my configuration. So we're back to where we were. We've got 3 items inside EQUELLA, but now I'm going to do another run straight away. So I'll do a start import, and I won't worry about the terminal. I can see there were 3 successors, and if I do a search, I still only got 3. So this time it's just updating the existing items. In fact, if we had seen the terminal, this is what we would see. For example, the very last one, it says source identifier equals 3, item exists in EQUELLA, editing item, and then down the bottom, item successfully updated. So this time, rather than creating a new item, it's updating existing items, exactly what we wanted. So we could actually go ahead and make changes to some of these items. So instead of calling it uniform circular motion interactive, we might call it a flash interactive, and save it. And we'll go down and have a look at it. Uniform circular motion interactive, there's our item. Now if we go ahead and do another bulk import, this time I'll get the terminal there for us, and hit a run. Again, it's saying for each one, item exists in EQUELLA, editing item, editing the existing item instead of creating a duplicate. And this time we had a slightly different title, so if I just refresh this item, we can see that it indeed updated the existing item rather than creating a duplicate. So in this tutorial we learned how, rather than creating duplicates by just re-uploading items each time we run the EBI, we can use source identifiers of our making, our design, to get the EBI to match on existing items when it uploads. And if you recall, at the beginning of the tutorial I said there is a second technique where we can actually specify the item UUIDs in the CSV, and that's called target identifiers. So that's further described in the documentation.